Well, speaking of real gangsters, I just interviewed King Tone, who was the former leader of the Latin Kings. Did you get a chance to watch any of that?
Some of it, yes.
I never realized how massive an organization the Latin Kings are. Did you, I mean, you grew up in New York. Were you around Latin Kings growing up and everything?
I mean, not that they were like right around me, but yes, Latin Kings were around. You definitely, you know what I mean? Hear about them, and, I might have known one or two, but, yeah, they definitely was around.
There was a case, and we talked about this in the interview, where like a war had broken out about who was going to be the next leader of the Latin Kings. And one of the members was found with his tattoo cut out, his body set on fire, his head cut off, and the head was never found.
I'm just saying, I think they sensationalize that guy's murder, which is, God rest his soul, man. And that Almighty got him. We don't
know.
Huh?
Sorry.
I don't know him. I just, like in the papers or anybody you talk in your hood, he's a king or whatever, you call him friend or foe. Like we say, like an indictment, we don't wish that on nobody.
That's like, overkill. That's crazy, unnecessary brutality. Like, that we could do this to each other. Like, it's crazy.
And that's one of their own.
Right.
Imagine what they do to like an outsider. The former leader of the Latin Kings, this guy named King Blood, I guess that he was convicted of putting hits out on people, like through prison letters. He had the most severe sentence of anyone since World War II. He was sentenced to 250 years in prison, with the first 45 of those years in solitary confinement, where he's only allowed to get visits from immediate family members, of which he had none.
Wow. 45 years of solitary? Like, that's just trying to make somebody go crazy. Like they say that solitary could make you go crazy in a month or two. So imagine like 45 years.
Do you feel that every person could be rehabilitated, no matter what they did?
Yes, but I don't think that jail rehabilitates you.
No, that's not what I'm saying. And I think the way that jail is done in the U.S. is completely wrong, because in other countries, they do it very differently. But do you feel that regardless of the crime, that person should eventually be let out back in society?
Yes. I think, see, that it's a touchy one, but you got to understand, like, people change, man. Nothing stays the same. We're not the same people that we were when we first started this conversation an hour ago, whatever the case may be. So if I do something and now it's 30, 40 years later, and I'm still getting punished for some, grisly shit I did 30 years ago, and I get it. I understood what I did wrong, and I'm never, you know what I mean? Like, should I continuously be punished for that? And some people say, well, that person will never come back, da-da-da-da-da. I mean, yeah. So it's just like, I don't know. I think you can be rehabilitated, but it starts with you. You have to decide if that's something real. But then how does the person outside of you know if you've really been rehabilitated? I don't know, man. Like, maybe there's some sort of tests that are set up. I don't know. But the way things are now, it's hard to tell if somebody would be rehabilitated because they don't do anything in jail to try to rehabilitate them.
Okay. Dylann Roof, who went into a black church in Charleston and shot a whole bunch of black people. He was 20 years old when that happened.
Right.
He's now 25.
Right. Not nearly long enough. But
Yes.
when he's about 50, would I consider him getting out?
So you would be okay with a 50-year-old Dylann Roof moving next door to you?
It depends. First of all, now you made it a little extreme. First we're talking about getting out. Now you're saying moving next door to me.
Well, I mean, he's gonna be living next door to somebody.
No, they ain't gonna be next to me.
You don't know that.
He's free. He ain't moving. Trust me, he ain't moving next door.
He is free. Okay, he can move wherever the hell he wants to move.
Yeah, but he wouldn't want to live around black people like that. If he, I don't think he would. Okay, let's just say it's 25 years later. He's 50 years down the road. While he was in jail, he saw the error of his ways. He actually was in jail, like working with black people or some shit to try to, I don't know. Like, and I'm not saying, I'm saying I might take these things into consideration. And there would be certain checks and balances that in this new system that I'm talking about or whatever, I would know if it was safe to let this motherfucker out or not. Put it that way. You know what I mean? We'd set up some sort of psychological criteria, which I'm sure they do now. There's got to be some sort of psychological tests to see whether once they come up for parole, are they even of sound mind and body to be released in the first fucking place. You know what I mean? So set some shit up like that, but I think you have to really look at these things and evaluate these people years down the road and take it from there. I don't think that once you do, certain things, I don't think you're like that for the rest of your life necessarily.
Well, you hear stories like this. You hear people that go to prison, they feel they're rehabilitated, they come out, and they start killing people again.
Right. And then you also hear about stories that people that go to prison come out and have productive lives and never go back. Yeah. So how prevalent is that story that you're talking about? You see what I'm saying?
Well, look,
they'll use a story, that's what you call anecdotal stories. So you'll use a story like that to prevent all other people from getting released or for what I'm talking about. You see what I'm saying? When that could be very abnormal, you know what I mean? Out of all the people that get released, maybe, 2% of them do what the fuck you're talking about. But we're going to use that 2% to scare the general population into not letting the rest of the percentile get out.
Well, I interviewed Chi Ali.
I was tight. Like, we was beefing on the phone. At some point it got crazy. And then with him telling me to suck his dick and all that, I was going up there to pop him. That's what I told my man in the car. Like, yo, my man was like, I'm gonna fuck the nigga up, hold me down. Cause we going to their projects, hold me down, don't let nobody jump me. I'm like, I'm gonna pop this nigga. He like, nah, you gonna have to. Listen, I told my man what I was gonna do.
Who went to prison for killing his daughter's uncle.
Safe to say, Chi ain't killing nobody else.
Right, just his daughter's uncle.
Right, and I'm saying after what he went through,
yes,
I don't think Chi Ali would come back out onto the street and kill somebody.
You're right. I don't think he's killed anybody since or will ever kill anybody again.
Right.
And he actually said that most people that commit murder, when they get out, they actually don't go back to prison because the sentences are so long. When they come out, they're not put in the same environment. They're not around any of the same people. Everyone they knew by that time is either dead or they're probably in prison themselves or they've moved away or whatever else. They're older. They're not trying to be gangsters anymore, and most of them end up staying out of prison. Now, the guys that get 2-3 years, it becomes a revolving door. But the guys that are doing murders usually are not. But would I want to live next to a Dylann Roof? Hell no. I would move away. If he moved next door to me, I'm
First
like,
of all, you're
we're
right.
out.
What the fuck you got to worry about? He wasn't after you. Okay? I'd be the one to worry about. What the fuck you talking about? I don't want to live next to Dylann Roof. For what? He might try to recruit you. Come on, Vlad. Let's get these motherfuckers. You know them all. You call them up for an interview, and I'm going to come in.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
I would hope not.
I would hope not to.